Which is better, going and looking for something and then finding it, or finding something wonderful entirely by accident? Everyone will have their own opinion about that, but there's definitely something to be said for the shock of the unknown. The chances of any of us finding something rare and valuable unexpectedly in our everyday lives is low. But just like winning the lottery, it has to happen to somebody, somewhere. This video is all about those once-in-a-lifetime surprise discovery experiences. In July 2019, a team of experts working in a cave in Hungary got more than they bargained for when they went looking for what was hiding in the dark. They expected to find bronze ornaments, shards of pottery, and jewelry, and they did. But they also found human skeletons, piles of animal bones that show signs of ritual sacrifice, and, if legends are to be believed, a cure for any form of respiratory illness. The team was in Hungary's Baradla cave system, which runs for almost 20 miles and is well known in Europe for its many Bronze Age treasures. It's been searched many times before, but this time the experts managed to find a cache of 59 items that had somehow been missed on every previous visit, many of which were 5,000 years old. The humidity level of the cave is close to 100%, and so it's always been said to have sauna-like healing qualities, and an arrangement of specially polished rocks found close to the sacrificed animal bones might imply that shamanistic healing rituals happened here. Our next hidden treasure discovery doesn't go back thousands of years. In fact, it barely goes back 10. That doesn't mean it isn't incredible, though. It's a treasure chest that was deliberately placed in a secret location in New Mexico, part of the Rocky Mountains, by artist and antique dealer Forrest Fenn in 2009, for no reason other than the fact that he wanted to create a mystery. He then left a clue to its location in a book of poetry he wrote. It took over a decade for someone to pick up on the hint, but now it's been done. And although Mr. Fenn has been contacted by the lucky explorer, the explorer himself wishes to remain anonymous. Perhaps that isn't surprising. It's generally understood that the combined value of the treasures inside the chest, which are thought to contain some rare and valuable works of art, along with precious gemstones, exceeds $1 million. More than 250,000 people came looking for the treasure during the time it was hidden, so the clues can't have been easy to follow if only one of them ever made it. The fields of England are known to be full of ancient coins and jewelry, and you'll also see metal detectorists out in those fields trying to find buried treasure on warm, sunny days. Not all of their finds are worth reporting, but this one is. It's a huge hoard of Roman coins that turned up in a field in Suffolk in mid-2019, and historians believe that whoever buried them there did so to keep them safe from the so-called Boudica battles. Boudica was a warrior queen of ancient England who rose up against the Roman occupation of her home country and was recognized as the ruler of some of its territories. The coins are dated to the time of her disputed reign, although they feature the faces of Roman emperors as opposed to Boudica herself. The earliest of the coins comes from 153 BCE, with the latest made roughly 100 years later in the year 61. The date on the last coin in a burial like this usually indicates when it was interred into the earth, and the year matches Boudica's biggest uprising. Burying treasure during times of civil unrest in ancient Britain was a common tactic to avoid looters and raiders. For some reason, it appears the owner of these coins never got the chance to come back for them. Trying to reach either the North or the South Pole is a perilous endeavor, and one that not everybody comes back alive from. If you're struggling for survival out there in the cold, you'll often be forced to abandon any item that isn't essential as you try to make it back to base, or wait to be rescued. Even the legendary British explorer Sir Ernest Shackleton isn't exempt from that rule. He took part in the Nimrod expedition between 1907 and 1909, which almost claimed his life. He made it home, but he left his favorite whiskey behind. Shackleton had taken several bottles of Mackinlay's rare Old Highland malt to the Antarctic with him as a personal comfort and a means of staying warm, but had no space for them on the return leg and left them in the ice. 100 years of snow and ice settled on top of them, but a New Zealand research team eventually located them in 2018 and carefully extracted them from the ice. They are now back in Scotland, where one of them has been thawed out and opened. Apparently, it's still a good drink, and it tastes fruity. Accidentally finding something valuable is a wonderful experience, but accidentally giving something valuable away must be awful. Here's a story that contains both of those things at once. In May 2015, a man named Emil Noddle paid $100 to buy an antique dresser from an estate sale in Missouri City, Texas. He barely got it out of the store before he heard it rattling, and so he decided to recheck its contents. To his surprise, there was a secret drawer hidden below the third drawer, and it was packed full of emeralds, diamonds, gold jewelry, banknotes, and personal effects, including family photographs and military medals. It's hard to put a price on a collection like this, but you don't need to be an expert to realize that it must easily be worth 5 figures. It appeared that this person had hidden their life savings in the dresser and never told their family. Some people would have counted their blessings and taken the loot, but Emil could never live with himself if he did that. He kept the dresser but contacted the family to return their heirlooms to them. What a good guy! If you love a good pirate story, you might be familiar with the tale of Black Sam Bellamy and his ship, the Whydah, which terrorized and stole from many a ship and captain before meeting with disaster in 1717 and sinking off the coast of Cape Cod in Massachusetts. It was thought that the ship was heavily laden with gold when it went down, but as no trace of it was ever found, the story turned into a legend, and by the 20th century it was thought to be nothing more than a myth. American Barry Clifford has an enthusiasm for seeking the truth of such things, though, and in 1984 he found it, buried less than 150 feet from the shore. People had been walking straight over the top of it for more than 200 years without realizing it. Not only did Barry find the coins, but he also found muskets, cannons, gold jewelry, and even the ship's bell. In total, 200,000 different artifacts have now been removed from the site of the shipwreck. It's almost certainly the most valuable pirate treasure ever found. But as Barry has no intention of selling it while he's alive, we may never know its worth. A thief isn't exactly the same thing as a robber, but they operate in similar ways, and sometimes thieves bury their loot as well. If you grew up in County Waterford in Ireland, you'd be familiar with the legend of a highwayman called William Crotty, who's said to have stolen from people in the region's mountains during the early 18th century before being caught and executed in 1742. Even on his way to the gallows, he boasted that nobody would ever know where he'd hidden his treasure. As it turns out, he'd hidden them very close to a particular spot in the mountains that was already referred to by locals as Crotty's Rock. Archaeologists and experts missed the treasure for years, only for it to be found by a class of children on a day out from a nearby school in 2015. Most of it takes the form of gold coins, and it's said to have a combined value of several $1,000,000. News of the kids' discovery soon spread around the town, and by nightfall there were dozens of people out on the mountain with metal detectors trying to find more treasure. But it was too late. The kids had already taken the lot. As amazing as the discovery of Crotty's treasure is, there's a couple in California, USA who can look on that news and say that they outdid the children. They were out walking their dog in Santa Ana when the hound suddenly took an interest in a spot below an old tree and started digging. As they caught up with the dog, they were stunned to see a collection of mint-condition gold coins inside tin cans. Realizing that they might just have become wealthy, they contacted both a lawyer and a coin expert. And only then did the significance of their find become apparent. The collection of just over 1,400 coins, all of which are stamped with dates between 1847 and 1894, are so clean that it's thought they've never been in general circulation. Some of them are also incredibly rare. So rare, in fact, that even though the face value of all the coins added together is only around $27,000, the collection has been valued at more than $10 million. Nobody can explain where the coins came from, but they now belong to the couple to do with as they please. In mid-2017, a team of archaeologists set out to Bineset Cemetery in Trondheim, Norway, expecting to find Viking-era beer brewing stones in a location close to the burial site. They didn't find any brewing stones that day, but what they did find was far more remarkable. There was a whole treasure trove of valuable ancient Viking artifacts waiting in the ground, some of which date all the way back to the year 700, and also something that appeared to be totally out of place. It's a gold-plated silver fitting that probably came from a book cover, and it's uniquely Celtic in design. For it to end up in Norway, someone would have had to import it from its home country, and that importing process probably didn't happen peacefully. Aside from finding a stash of Viking treasure, the team had also apparently found treasure stolen during Viking raids elsewhere in Europe. Since the initial discovery, the search for artifacts at the site has been widened and deepened, and the exploration continues to this day. In the middle of 2018, something unthinkable happened in Sweden. The country's crown jewels were stolen by a seemingly amateur pair of criminals who grabbed them in broad daylight during the middle of a service at Strängnäs Cathedral, jumped into a speedboat, and disappeared across the water. The royal collection included the crowns of King Charles IX and his wife, and a solid gold orb. And although its cash value can be measured in millions of dollars, its cultural significance to Sweden is far higher. Someone was eventually caught and put on trial for the theft. And on the same day the trial was due to begin, the entire stolen collection was found by a member of the Swedish public in a very inauspicious location: a trash can in the town of Åkersberg, not far from Stockholm. They didn't appear to be damaged, and their authenticity was confirmed when an expert was summoned. The trial was adjourned while the sudden reappearance of the stolen goods was investigated, and presumably Sweden will now be taking much better provisions when it comes to their security arrangements. We've seen a couple of valuable coin collection discoveries so far in this video, but how much do you think that one single coin might sell for if it was the right coin and you could find the right collector? How does $700,000 sound? That's what a 30-year-old British man received for the coin he found in a field in Kent in March 2019, and it's all because of whose face was stamped on it. The coin bears the visage of Allectus, a former Roman finance minister who seized power in the empire by unexpectedly murdering Carausius, the self-styled emperor of the north. The coin might only be small, but it's made of 24-karat gold, and it's in astonishingly good condition for something that was minted over 1,700 years ago. After taking power, Allectus attempted to annex Britain away from the Roman Empire and rule it himself, which in recent years has led some people to nickname him the First Brexiteer. Perhaps unsurprisingly, given the way he rose to power, he didn't live for long and was himself killed in battle 3 years later. Only 24 coins like this are known to exist, and none of the other 23 are in such good condition. If you want a cheap chess set, you can buy one for less than $5. If you want an expensive one, there's almost no upper limit on price, but the most valuable set in the world is probably the Lewis chessmen, so named because they were discovered on the Scottish island of Lewis in 1831. They're far older than that though. Testing has shown them to be a creation of the 12th century, and it's thought that they came to Scotland from Norway. The pieces are hand-carved from mostly walrus ivory, with a few made from the teeth of sperm whales. For a long time, it's thought that only 93 pieces existed, which always implied some were missing. But then the last piece turned up in 2019. The owner of the piece saw a news article about the Lewis chessmen and realized that they looked exactly like a small chess piece he bought 50 years previously for under $10 at an auction. It's now worth $750,000. That's excellent news for the owner, but neither he nor anyone else can explain how it was separated from the rest of the set in the first place. Subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and enjoy watching new videos on my channel. Thanks for watching, and see you soon!